let me tell you, all of that leftist stuff, that anti-American propaganda, that was all a big joke. Uninformed leftist, that was just a character that I was doing. My true form is me in a dress shirt and a red tie. I got rid of all of that blue stuff. All of that is a complete lie. I have bent the knee to our Lord and the second coming of Jesus Christ, Donald Trump, and I am going to be his loyal soldier. So we can start off, and I'm totally on the side of the Republicans here. I am a Republican now. Look, I'm wearing a red tie, but just for the sake of keeping good God-fearing Republicans like Charlie Kirk alive and safe, let's read through this national security memo that Donald Trump put out last week. So this is Countering Domestic Terrorism and Organized Political Violence. The National Security Presidential Memorandum, NSP-7. Subject, Countering Domestic Terrorism and Organized Political Violence. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States. Are we citing the Constitution? Are we citing the laws of the United States right now? Because I think Donald Trump has taken a little bit more authority than those allow him, but whatever. Section 1. Domestic terrorism and organized political violence. Heinous assassinations and other acts of political violence in the U.S. have dramatically increased in recent years. I mean, Donald Trump literally released a bunch of brown-shirted thugs that tried to overthrow the government on his behalf, but sure, we can just say, like, wave our hands at a vague, nebulous type of political violence that has increased. Oh, sorry, no. Yeah, it's definitely the leftists that have been snatching up all of the guns and have been killing Republican politicians and political pundits. Even in the aftermath of the horrifying assassination of Charlie Kirk, some individuals who adhered to the alleged shooter's ideology, which was a gamer moment. I'm not a gamer, by the way. I'm definitely not a gamer. Oh my god, I fucking died. I can't believe I died there. Oh, I fucking died to like 3 wolves. Okay. Embraced and cheered at this evil murder. Holy shit, dude. This White House is so cooked. Embraced and cheered this evil murder while actively encouraging more political violence. Again, if you encourage political violence and you actually promote violence and call for violence, that's a crime. You don't need to put out a White House national security briefing in order to combat the call for violence. This was preceded by the 2024 assassination of a senior healthcare executive. Oh, we're claiming that now? And the 2022 assassination attempt against Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Really, skipping a lot of we're passing over a lot of assassinations in order to get these 3 attempts and like slightly politically motivated things. So like the senior healthcare executive, literally every American hates their healthcare insurance provider. The assassination attempt against Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, an attempt. The 2024 assassination or the 2025 assassination of Charlie Kirk, done by a gamer having a Joker moment. But yeah, we'll say that all of these are leftist ideologies. 2 separate assassination attempts against my own life in less than like Donald Trump wrote this. 2 separate assassination attempts against my own life in less than 3 months took place during the 2024 presidential election cycle. Both of those were done by Republicans, by the way. Riots in Los Angeles and Portland reflect a more than 1,000% increase in attacks on U.S. immigration and customs enforcement officers since January 21st, 2025. Well, yeah, if you start beating the shit out of people using ICE, then they're going to get some violence in retaliation. Just yesterday, a shooting targeting an ICE facility in Dallas resulted in multiple casualties. And once again, I didn't even cover this on this channel, but the shooting that happened in Dallas was done by someone who did not have a political ideology. They were just like a nihilist gamer. And then if we want to talk about more shootings, there was a white supremacist shooter that shot up a school the day that Charlie Kirk got assassinated. And then there was also a shooting over the weekend in which a Republican veteran shot up a Mormon church and killed a bunch of Mormons. So, like, we're really being a very selective cherry picking in this article from the White House. You don't have any evidence, you just have a few anecdotes that don't even hold up to any kind of scrutiny. None of these assassinations were left-wing whatsoever. The one thing that I'm not sure about is the Supreme Court attempted assassination of Brett Kavanaugh. But I don't know if that was a left-wing they did or not. Let's just look it up right now. Okay, what do we have here? We wanted to kill 3 justices. I'm assuming they're all Republican justices, right? The California man who pleaded guilty to attempting to assassinate Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh aimed to kill 3 members of the High Court in an effort to single-handedly alter the constitutional order for ideological ends. Okay, what were the ideological ends? So he wanted to target and kill judges to seek to alter a court's ruling. Oh, he says, I'm gonna stop Roe v. Wade from being overturned. And in response to the question, what you trying to do? He said, remove some people from the Supreme Court. Yeah, but I could at least get one, which could change the votes. I mean, once again, if we're talking about Roe v. Wade, Republicans don't want Roe v. Wade. Like, Republicans overwhelmingly want abortion to be passed. That's like an entire new demographic of voters. The people that didn't vote for Kamala Harris, but also voted to maintain abortion access in their respective countries or in their respective states. It's actually a small minority of Republican voters that want Roe v. Wade to be overturned. Maybe not a small minority, but about like not much more than 50% of the Republicans. It's all the religious people. So he specifically wanted to stop Roe v. Wade from being overturned in 2022. Wait, sure. So once again, not a leftist side. Like, this is the issue with Republicans trying to say that there's left-wing ideological violence, is that when Republicans and white supremacists shoot people, it's because I hate black people, or I hate the Jews, or I hate Mormons and I'm going to kill them. I want to shoot up trans people. There's a doctor performing abortions and I hate people that do abortions, so I'm going to kill the doctor or like bomb the hospital. You have a clear ideological through line where you can say there is violence and it's coming from a right-wing place. But when a healthcare CEO shot, you don't have that same kind of hate on the left, because leftism isn't based in hate. Reactionary conservative politics is based in hate. It's about what group do we hate the most. Leftism is like, oh yeah, well, like, you know, we don't like our healthcare providers, but that's everyone in the country doesn't like their healthcare providers. It's just that some people in the country are more motivated by hate, and so they vote in that hate categories than actually voting along their class lines or voting for what would actually materially improve their conditions. So you have people like Luigi Mangione. He's not a dyed-in-the-wool leftist. He's just like a normal guy, and he had a horrible back injury, and then he didn't like his healthcare, and so he's like got radicalized by that. Like Roe versus Wade, the guy that wanted to kill Brett Kavanaugh. I don't know if he cares about abortion, like if he personally was affected by a lack of access to abortion, or wanted to stop that or whatever, but Republicans also are affected by getting abortion taken away, and so he could very well be a Republican. This is the thing, there's not an actual ideology of hate on the left, so try as they might, it's like almost definitionally impossible to find left-wing terrorism, at least in America, that's coming from an ideological standpoint. There's some things, I guess you could say that ideologically those 2 Israelis that were killed, that could be an example of left-wing terrorism if you're saying that I'm against genocide in Gaza. But we also know that a lot of Republicans are against genocide in Gaza, and a lot of people that have family in Gaza or are affected elsewise voted against the genocide, like by voting for Trump, ironically, or just choosing to not vote for Kamala Harris. And that doesn't actually mean that they're ideologically leftist. It's difficult to actually pin that down. So anyway, what do we have here? Separate anti-police and criminal justice riots have left many people dead. Like this, look, this could be ideological leftist. Separate anti-police and criminal justice riots. But the majority, like the vast majority, like 95% of the violence in these so-called riots are coming from the cops. That's why people are getting killed and they're getting injured. Or they're coming from like what happened in Charlottesville, where there's reactionary conservatives counter-protesting them and then shooting them or driving trucks through them, driving trucks through the crowd. Over $2 billion in property damage. Yeah, you break a few windows and then you're labeled a terrorist. This political violence is not a series of isolated incidents. Yeah, they literally presented it as a series of isolated incidents. Instead, it is a culmination of sophisticated, organized campaigns of targeted intimidation, radicalization, threats, and violence designed to silence opposing speech, limit political activity, change or direct policy outcomes, and prevent the functioning of a democratic society. So, like, let's just look at what this is. It's the culminate. So, the political violence is a culmination of organized campaigns that intimidate, radicalize, threats, and violence designed to silence opposing speech. So threats and violence? What would a threat be? We're going to protest Charlie Kirk if he comes to our college? Like, where's the violence that was supposed to silence opposing speech? They actually didn't even list a single example of violence that was supposed to silence conservative speech or whatever. Limit political activity, change or direct policy. So I love how it's like trying to change or direct policy outcomes is now a form of contributing to political violence, right? If you try to change or direct policy outcomes, that can culminate in political violence, right? Because they're saying the political violence is a culmination of directing policy outcomes and prevent the functioning of a democratic society. New law enforcement strategy that investigates all participants in these criminal and terroristic conspiracies, including the organized structures and networks, entities, organizations, funding sources, and predicate actions behind them, is required. So basically, they're saying, if you are a leftist or you start speaking about leftism, you can be deemed as contributing to terrorism. And even though that might not be a crime in and of itself, you're going to basically be put on a watch list. So they're saying that new law enforcement strategy that investigates all participants in these criminal and terroristic conspiracies. So once again, they're not saying that the people that do the violence are criminals or terroristic. They're saying that the people that are participants in the terroristic conspiracies are the ones that are getting investigated. And what is a terroristic conspiracy? Being part of a group that's trying to change or direct policy outcomes. So they're actually just saying, if you are, on YouTube, or you're a member of the DSA, or you're a member of the DNC, and you're trying to change or direct policy outcomes, that can contribute to terrorist violence, and you're going to be investigated as a contributor to terrorism. But I don't have to worry because I am a Republican, and we all know that it is the dirty leftists that are doing the vast majority of political violence. We all know that to be true. These campaigns often begin by isolating and dehumanizing specific targets to justify murder or other violent action against them. They do so through a variety of fora, including anonymous chat forums, in-person meetings, social media, and even educational institutions. These campaigns then escalate to organized doxing, where the private or identifying information of their targets, such as home addresses, phone numbers, and other personal information, is exposed to the public with the explicit intent of encouraging others to harass, intimidate, or violently assault them. As in the case of several ICE agents in Los Angeles being doxed, the goal of these campaigns can be to obstruct the operations of the federal government, as well as aid and abet criminal activity the federal government is lawfully pursuing. These campaigns are coordinated and perpetrated by actors who have developed a comprehensive strategy to achieve specific policy goals through radicalization and violent intimidation. So yeah, once again, like protesting someone or protesting someone outside of their house is now going to be considered essentially terrorism. That's what we're getting with this national security update. So we'll read a little bit more of this. There are common recurrent motivations and indicia uniting this pattern of violent and terroristic activities under the umbrella of self-described anti-fascism. So remember that Trump tried to put out an executive order declaring Antifa as a terrorist organization. So they're saying that it's self-described anti-fascism. These movements portray foundational American principles, i.e. support for law enforcement and border control. Bro, foundational American principles? America was founded in rebelling against essentially a law enforcement. That's what it was founded against. We're like, we're not going to pay taxes. And the British are like, fuck you aren't. And then that started America. Okay, so foundational American principles, not like freedom, not freedom at all, but it's the foundational American principles are support for law enforcement and border patrol, not freedom, not diversity, not any kind of like education or scientific breakthroughs, but support for law enforcement. Holy shit. I love how it's like support for law enforcement and border patrol. That's fascist. Yeah, it is. Good job recognizing that. To justify and encourage acts of violent revolution. You cannot make this up. While the White House is trying to say that if you don't support foundational American principles, you can lead to revolution. That's how this country was made. Through revolution. It sounds like support a revolution would be support of foundational American principles. But that's what I would say if I was a leftist. This anti-fascist lie, what does that even mean? This anti-fascist lie has become the organizing rallying cry used by domestic terrorists to wage a violent assault against democratic institutions, constitutional rights, and fundamental American. Kind of ironic saying that it's the leftists that are attacking the constitutional rights. Common threads animating this violent conduct include, here we go, anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, and anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the United States government, extremism on migration, race, and gender, and a hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, religion, and morality. As described in the Order of September 22nd, designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization, the groups and entities that perpetuate this extremism have created a movement that embraces and elevates violence to achieve policy outcomes, including justifying additional assassinations. For example, Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin engraved the bullets used in the murder with so-called anti-fascist rhetoric. Once again, he also engraved, if you are reading this, you're gay, LOL. He also engraved, notice this bulge, UWU, or WU, no, it's UWU. That's also dirty leftist anti-fascist rhetoric. You notice a bulge? That means you're a leftist. I'm sorry. Like, only leftists notice bulge. Conservatives like me, we're like Barbie dolls down there. It's just a smooth lump that really doesn't create any kind of bulge whatsoever. But we can go through this one more time because I really need to hammer this home for everyone that's watching right now, because people are not talking about this. So they're trying to say, like, let's take this as a chain of logic here. Common or current motivations and indicia uniting this pattern of violent and terroristic activities. So these are the motivations that unite, they basically incite terrorist activities. So these are the motivations that incite terrorist activities. And those motivations are being anti-American. So if you're anti-American, which essentially means criticizing America in any way whatsoever, burning the American flag, saying that like, oh yeah, America sucks right now, or Donald Trump's America is trash. That is motivating, that can motivate violence and terrorism. If you are anti-capitalist, that can motivate violence and terrorism. If you are anti-Christianity, that can motivate violence and terrorism. Support for the overthrow of the United States government. So if you like criticize the United States government whatsoever, that can incite terrorism, according to this national security update. If you are extreme on migration, race, and gender, that motivates terrorism. If you are hostile towards those who hold traditional American views on family, religion, and morality. So unlike all of you, every morning I wake up, I walk down to my local church, I get on my knees, and I suck the cocks of every voting man who owns land that goes into my local church. And then I sit there and I get, okay, I won't say that because that's blasphemous, but I do serve as an altar boy for my priest. But I won't say what I say in confession that he does to me. But that's what I do. And I just do that so that I prove that I don't hold any hostility towards people that hold traditional American views. If you are not sucking off a wealthy landowner that has a family, a dog, and a white picket fence, then you are getting put on a list. I'm sorry to say, guys. Also, you get bonus points if you do it in church. Essentially, what we have here is if you criticize the government, if you criticize capitalism, if you criticize Christianity, if you're like, oh yeah, I'm in favor of women being able to get birth control, you might be a terrorist. If you wake up and you look at your bank account and it's not over brimming with cash, you might be a terrorist. If you don't go to church every Sunday and then you also don't volunteer at your church every Tuesday, you might be a terrorist. I'm sorry to say, that's not me. That's just the God King, Donald Trump, giving us his decree from on high. It's really not good. But that kind of view where you might be hostile to someone who holds American views on family, like if you don't let your daughter get married at 16 to the 40-year-old that goes to your church, you might be a terrorist, because that seems very hostile to traditional American views on family. The U.S. requires a national strategy to investigate and disrupt networks, entities, and organizations that foment political violence. Fomenting political violence is not bending over for your religious Catholic landowner, landlord every end on a Sunday morning. That's fomenting political violence, so that law enforcement can intervene in criminal conspiracies before they result in violent political acts. I swear I saw a movie that had this, where instead of actually like prosecuting crimes, we just prosecuted thought crimes. Or was that a book or something where, someone was arrested just for even thinking about crimes, and then before they got executed, they had to love big America? Is that what we're talking about? Through this comprehensive strategy, law enforcement will disband and uproot networks, entities, and organizations that promote organized violence, violent intimidation, conspiracies against rights, and other efforts to disrupt the functioning of a democratic society. So once again, this is just like, we're going to stop people that are trying to change policy positions, because that can fall under the category of disrupt the functioning of a democratic society. And just because you haven't done any violence yet, or you haven't actually called for violence to be done, even the fact that you're criticizing Republicans, even the fact that you are critical of Christianity, or not giving them a place to call home and feel comfortable inside of your community or your network or whatever it is you're doing, that could potentially lead to violence against them. It's cause for you to get fired or arrested or deplatformed or whatever by the federal government. The Joint National Terrorism Task Force and its local offices shall coordinate and supervise a comprehensive national strategy to investigate, prosecute, and disrupt entities and individuals that engage in acts of political violence and intimidation designed to suppress lawful political activity or obstruct the rule of law. This strategy shall include the investigatory and prosecutorial measures set forth in this section. So they shall investigate potential federal crimes relating to acts of recruiting or radicalizing persons for the purpose of political violence, terrorism, or conspiracy against rights, or the violent deprivation of any citizen's rights. They shall also investigate institutional and individual funders and officers and employees of organizations that are responsible for, sponsor, or otherwise aid and abet the principal actors engaging in the criminal conduct described in sections A and B of this section, and non-governmental organizations and American citizens residing abroad or with close ties to foreign governments, agents, citizens, foundations, or influence networks engaged in violations of Foreign Agents Registration Acts. Okay, so they can coordinate with law enforcement. They shall provide regular updates. The AG shall direct the Department of Justice to prosecute all federal crimes to the maximum extent permissible by law. The AG shall issue specific guidance that ensures domestic terrorism priorities include politically motivated terrorist acts such as organized doxing campaigns, swatting, rioting, looting, trespass, assault, destruction of property, threats of violence, and civil disorder. So if you call for a strike, that is civil disorder. This guidance shall also include an identification of any behaviors, fact patterns, recurrent motivations, or other insignia common to organizations and entities that coordinate these acts in order to direct efforts to identify and prevent potential violent activity. So oh, this one person that shot Charlie Kirk watched Stephen Colbert, and Stephen Colbert criticizes Donald Trump. That is a fact. That's a recurrent motivation. That's a pattern of behavior that an organization that caused political violence to have does. And so other people that also criticize Donald Trump should also be investigated before they actually lead to any kind of potential violent activity. But just the fact alone that, like, Colbert criticized Trump, and they found an instance where Tyler Robinson watched Colbert, and now I'm criticizing Trump. Oh, sorry, not me, but some other leftist could be criticizing Trump. Then that could actually cause them to be investigated and potentially tried by the Attorney General of the United States. So just real quick, this is an editorialization by Ken Klippenstein. He declares, warn those who don't support Trump agenda. The mainstream media, distracted by the made-for-TV drama of James Comey's indictment, Trump has signed a little-noticed national security directive identifying anti-Christian and anti-American views as indicators of radical left violence. To the extent that the major media noticed the directive at all, C-SPAN incorrectly labeled it an executive order, like last week's designation of Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. It's hard to overstate how much different NSPM-7 is from the over 200 executive orders Trump has signed. An executive order publicly lays out the course of day-to-day federal government operations, whereas a national security directive is a sweeping policy decree for the defense, foreign policy, intelligence, and law enforcement apparatus. National security directives are often secret, but in this case, the Trump administration chose to publish NSPM-7, only the 7th since he's come into office. 7 times in, 10 months? So they're targeting pre-crime. The Trump administration isn't only targeting organizations or groups, but even individuals and entities whom NSPM-7 says can be identified by any of the following indicia of violence. Like, what is this Latin shit? Just say indicators. Anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the United States. Like, I love how they just throw that in there. Like, oh yeah, you're a little bit... You want the violent overthrow of the government, or you're not a Christian and you don't like bigotry. Okay, these two things don't seem the same, but I guess we just like forced in here not liking bigotry. So anyway, yeah, this is really fucked up, and I'm sure we're going to see, like, the thing here is quite literally anyone can be called out for any of these things. Anti-Christianity, what does that mean? Anti-Americanism, well, if the president is in the White House and it's like Joe Biden and someone criticized Joe Biden, you can say, oh, what, you're being anti-American? Extremism on migration. What does extremism on migration mean? Saying that you want an easier pathway to citizenship for people? What we're witnessing now is extremism on migration. The mass deportation of millions of people, the breaking up of families, targeting people, like just racially profiling them, that's not extremism on migration. Like, everyone in the Trump White House can be gotten on this for leading to violence against immigrants. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, this is not good. And of course, no one's really talking about it. Like, let's see if we can find any single article about it. Let's see, CNN, what do we got here? Trump signs memorandum ordering probes of groups aiding organized political violence. Really, that's what we're quoting here? The organized political violence, not that the basically being against conservative values could be an indicator that you're a political violent person or fomenting political violence as a person. The directive aims to intensify efforts across the government to identify organizations backing what officials called domestic terrorism and organized political violence being perpetrated by radical politically motivated groups. The memorandum comes as Trump has blamed the radical left for Kirk's killing. Asked what other groups the administration might target for under Thursday's memo, Trump and other officials would not identify any specific organization. It's because there is no specific organization. They made it purposely vague so they can go after whoever they want. What do we have? Do we have any more information about it? They're actually not going to say that anti-Christianity is an indicator of violence. Okay, great job, CNN. Completely missed the mark there. Do we have anything else? NSPM-7. What a Newsweek. Over 3,000 nonprofits sound alarm. At least we have some alarms here. Newsweek. Why matters? Countering domestic terrorism, which orders the administration to investigate groups as suspects. It mean that it's a directive, which could be meant to chill the First Amendment's guaranteed right to free speech. Trump has accused the left of provoking violence. It listed common threads animating this violence conduct, including anti-American, anti-capitalism, and at least they're covering it in Newsweek. We won't miss words. No president, Democrat or Republican, should have the power to punish nonprofit organizations he disagrees with. That is not about protecting Americans or defending the public interest. It's about using unchecked power to silence opposition and voices he disagrees with. Thank you. At least like Newsweek is reporting on this. Absolutely like abysmal reporting from CNN there. Guys, I am never going to do ad reads on here, no advertisers, not going to be sponsored by dick pills or whatever. If you want to support my work, encourage me to live stream more, please consider joining the channel. You'll get access to early content, you'll get members only content, and your name will be in green. That's so good.